Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello everyone, it's Bree Carroll, organizer of the Command Collective community, and I have some exciting news. Lean in here. The Command Collective community doors are about to open, and we want to welcome you into this membership full of ambitious military spouse and service women. Not sure if this is the community for you? Don't worry. Throughout the month of March, we're actually giving you a sneak peek of everything in our membership. So if you are on the waiting list, you will get the details so that you can join us on our commander's call, our master mentor session, and even our care call for the month of March. What are you waiting for? Make sure you head to breecarroll.com/community and get on the waiting list now. That's breecarroll.com/community so that you can be a part of the collective, because of course we want to see you thrive personally in your marriage and in building a legacy. So join the Command Collective today. Hello everyone, and welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. I am thrilled that you are here joining us for another Heart to Heart. So today's conversation is going to be jam-packed and comes on the heels of us opening the doors of the Command Collective community. Now, let me tell you, there's so much going on behind the scenes that this subject that we're going to talk about really just hits home for the season that we're in, as I like to call it, open season. The doors opening for the community. And what we're going to be talking about today is really building you. Now, I know this may seem a little different, but maybe not for those who are familiar with the discussions that we have here at Hearts and Stripes podcast. For those who are new, welcome. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this Heart to Heart. To the people that always listen into our discussions, thank you for coming back. You know that if you are here, we are going to be talking about three main pillars, and that is about thriving personally, thriving in your marriage, and thriving in building a legacy, which are the three pillars that we also talk about in the Command Collective community. And that first one is really what we're going to talk about today, and one that I was reminded that I maybe need to talk more on after doing an interview as a guest on another platform. You see, most people know me as an advocate for strong military marriages. Hint, hint, Hearts and Stripes, right? And Military Marriage Day. But oftentimes people do not acknowledge that first step is intentionally the first step or the first pillar of our discussion here, which is thriving personally. So in our discussion about building you, that's exactly what we want to focus on. Because ultimately, I have said time and time again here, you cannot show up for your marriage if you are not showing up for yourself first. And I think that is why most people want to jump into couples counseling and other opportunities to do things with their spouse to communicate a certain issue or rectify a problem or just get on a better path with their spouse. And I think we need to pause and take some time for some introspection to see how we feel. And as I do this, if for those who are listening via audio or on your favorite podcast player, I'm actually putting my hands on my chest and on my torso just to kind of feel how I am feeling in my body, even as we are having this conversation, because it is so important to just check in with yourself. There's so much going on, and I can honestly say I've been challenged in this season, in my marriage, in expectations that I have for myself. And oftentimes I just need to pause, take a deep breath even, and just check in with me. And I think that's something that we need to do first before we can check in with our marriage. Before we can check in with future plans and hopes and desires, we got to check in right here. We got to start right here with ourselves first. And that's why building you is such an important topic, right? In the Command Collective community, we have a whole program in there that is accessible to anyone who's in the membership called Identity. And it's a course that I actually built when I was like in my stride season, I would call it, right? It was a course that I was able to lay out the CARE method, which a lot of you are familiar for. I'll link to the CARE method in the show notes, but it's where I break down the method and how you can care for yourself so that you can determine just where you're at, who you are, without the titles, without the labels, just you, or for myself, just Bree. What is just Bree? And I think it's so important to start there and having that program accessible in the membership, because oftentimes we can go through these spirals. You know, just as well as I do, in this military life, we go through transition all the time. We're moving, we're PCSing, we're watching all of the things on the news and getting inundated with the struggles and the issues of the world, which are very real for us and can impact our families very directly. And I think with these outside messages, these outside expectations, and even the ones that we have in our own minds, we can kind of get lost in who we are and experience something that I call an identity crisis because of those major stresses that become normal in our lives. And in that identity course, I absolutely love it because I take it too. I do it over and over again, and it's meant for you to come back to and kind of help ground yourself. Because as we go through different seasons, we start discovering new things about ourselves, right? We start to bloom in some seasons, and I talk about this in another episode about the seasons, and each season may look a little different about ourselves, but we learn a little bit more. And even as I am growing, as I continue to nourish myself and grow the person that I want to show up and become as a leader in this community, as a businesswoman, as a wife, and as a spouse, I find out more things about me. And I continue to change. And that's okay. But it starts with you. It starts with building yourself. And as you continue to lean into the mazy, crazy, sexy, creative sides of you that you should be celebrating, you have to really check in and figure out what that means for your identity, right? Because you understanding you will help you better become an advocate for yourself. It'll help you better communicate to your spouse the things that you need and desire, or the things that you might need to change to help support you in whatever season you're in. So that's why building yourself is so important. And that is why the Command Collective is set up to support you. So I know I'm talking a lot about the Command Collective. And as you know, the doors are going to be opening March 24th. And I love being able to show up and serve in that capacity, because a lot of people ask, like, Bree, why don't you just do marriage coaching, or why don't you focus more on like the couple side of things? And I think it's more so because I've realized personally that as I build myself, I'm able to build my marriage. I am able to dream bigger dreams for the legacy that I want to leave for those who are around me, my children, my community. Building myself is similar to what we talk about in that CARE method. It's like the foundation of everything. It starts with us. So I want to challenge you today and kind of ask, what are some ways that you are building yourself? So let's kind of go through that thought process. Maybe think of 2 or 3 things, different ways that you are building yourself. One way that you might be building yourself is maybe through this podcast, right? Listening to different things that are encouraging, that are feeding your mind. That's one way. I know one way that I am building myself right now is through going to therapy. Now, you guys know that I love my faith. I am a God girl, and I have realized that I need both, right? I need prayer, and I need a counselor, someone to work through and help me walk through my emotions and thoughts and past things, right? I also lean into having a coach. I'm a coach. Coaches need coaches. It's something that I truly believe in, and it's something that I invest in to build myself. So we've talked about a podcast, right? We've talked about maybe therapy. We've talked about faith. And we've talked about getting a coach, right? So those are the areas that you can utilize to build yourself. Another fun way that I've been talking about here is community. Hashtag squad goals. Building yourself looks like surrounding yourself with people who also want to build you up, right? So I'm going to write that one down for myself. Community. So what that may look like for you is putting yourself in circles of like-hearted and like-minded people. People that'll encourage you, people that you feel like you can go through life with, that can grow with you because they too want to grow. And I know that may challenge some people because you may have been in circles where it is just a familiar group of people, so you feel obligated to those people. Let me allow this conversation to be your permission slip to not necessarily completely end those relationships, but maybe take a step back and determine what is right for you, those communities, those relationships, those groups, what's right for you for this season. And give yourself the permission to say, I maybe won't spend as much time from those groups that are like sucking the life out of me, that are not filling me up, that I feel like I am giving more than I am receiving from those groups. And there's nothing wrong with giving to other people and standing in the gap and serving other people who may not be where you're at. But there is something to be said when it's an unhealthy imbalance and you feel obligated to those people and you feel like you have to do as opposed to you get to do for those people. So maybe take a look at your circle, take a look at your community, and see if you are building yourself through your community. Now, the third way that I would like to talk about here, of course, we're talking about strengthening military marriages, right? So how can you build yourself through the relationship with your spouse? And I would say it would maybe be advocacy, right? How do you advocate for yourself in your relationship? When you communicate the things that you need in your relationship, you are building yourself. You are saying in that last phase of the care method, right? Engage and trust, that I trust myself, that I know the actions that need to happen to continue to grow and build me as a person. And you're communicating that to your spouse, because guess what, guys? They can't guess these things. You have to tell them. You have to communicate. That's a mistake that I was making personally, assuming that my spouse would just get it. They would just know. And I appreciate that my spouse says, you got to tell me. He flat out just said it. Like, tell me what you want. Tell me the things that you need. And he may not always get it right, but he continues to encourage me to let him know, because it takes the mystery and the guessing game out of helping me build me. So those are the areas that I would love for you to kind of think through today as we talk about building you, building yourself. Is it the personal pursuits that you can do for yourself, like listening to podcast therapy, leaning into faith, or getting a coach, maybe it looks like community. And definitely, you know what community I'm going to suggest if you're here listening and you need some accountability, if you need to be around some people who are excited to go to the next level and grow with you, a community that moves with you. I'm absolutely going to say the Command Collective community. But even if it's not the Command Collective community, finding that circle that is right for you is so important. And then that third area of advocating for yourself in your relationship. We want to see you thrive in your marriage, in your relationship, because we believe when marriages are strong, the family is stronger, and thus the armed forces is stronger. That's what we're all about here at Hearts and Stripes podcast. But we had to take the time to have this conversation because it really starts right here, by building ourselves. It starts with you. So I hope that you enjoyed this chat about building yourself here on Hearts and Stripes podcast. And of course, we got to go to my favorite part of this episode, which is our heart tracks. So for those who want to listen to the full playlist of our heart tracks, you can find that on Spotify. That's Heart Tracks 3 on Spotify. So today's heart track comes from Emmily, Meli, I Am Woman. Now, this is a song that I've been hearing all over Instagram for reels and things, and I have really loved it. You'll probably hear me use it several times in my stories, but I love the lyrics, and I'll share with you what a few of them are, why I picked this heart track. So the intro lyrics are just, I am woman, I am fearless, I am sexy, I'm divine, I'm unbreakable, I'm creative. Honey, you can get in line. Let's just stop right there. That is why I really liked it. I mean, you can go through all of the lyrics and they really align with starting with us, right? We are here and I am here to celebrate you, celebrate women. That's what we do in the Command Collective community. That is why I'm here, pouring into you amazing military spouses and service women out there, because I want you to know how special you are, how strong you are, and I want you to start celebrating yourself. I mean, we're talking about building you, so let's start with celebrating ourselves and all the amazing things that we are as women. And no surprise, it is Women's History Month, right? So this is a perfect opportunity for you to think of yourself as a part of history, ladies. That's right. You are making history right now. As you invest in yourself, as you build yourself, you are changing the lives of other people. And oftentimes I say that we don't understand the impact that we have in our day-to-day, the lives that we are changing through our children, through our service, through volunteering, through the businesses and the companies that we work for, the career aspirations, and how we pour into our families in the community. You are making history right now. So this heart track is for you in honor of Women's History Month. I Am Woman. So that is all for today, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this heart to heart right here on Hearts and Stripes podcast. I can't wait to chat with you again soon. But for now, have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.